The views and opinions expressed on this show belong solely to the hosts and their guests and do not reflect the views of any on-site institutions unless explicitly stated.
What's up, everybody? My name is Steve Vanderwall.
And I'm Justin Klosser,
And we're your hosts of Cannabis Cum Laude, a podcast devoted entirely to cannabis. We're going to talk cultivation, business, medicine, politics, culture, advocacy, and everything in between.
The cannabis industry is complicated. It's robust. It has a lot of moving parts, and it's our job to help you understand it just a little bit better. So tune in every week for a brand new episode. And if you have a question that you'd like answered on the show, send it on over to questions@cannabiscumlaude.com. Thanks. Enjoy the show. What's going on, everybody? We're back in studio with the Hydro guy, Rob Bonfiglio, and ZippieHippie247. And we're going to talk grow today, people. I'm stoked. As the owner of #Hydro, Rob has fielded every question you could possibly think of, and Zippie Hippie's flower speaks for itself. So strap on your seatbelts and bust out your notebooks because it's going to be a landslide of good info today. Before we get into that, though, I want to take a minute to thank our OG and excuse me, got a little throat thing going on there. I want to take a minute to thank our that green crack was great. I want to take a minute to thank our OG Patreon supporters, John Zingaro, Paige Rowe, and Tommy Potseed. You guys have been supporting since the inception of the show, and we're so grateful.
Thank you.
If you want to figure out how you can support the show, head on over to patreon.com/Cannabis Cum Laude. Also, join the coalition on Discord, ask questions, video or voice chat, and stay in touch with the community. The link will be in the show notes. Without further ado, gentlemen, let's get into it.
Yeah.
First and foremost, Zippy, before we get into it, I got to know what your preferred growing style is.
So it's a little mixture of everything, kind of, honestly. So clearly I use framing to trellis and put scrognet out. So my preferred style is scrogging. In that room that I usually post on my Instagram all the time, it's, believe it or not, just 6 plants.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks massive.
Every time.
I take cuts off of my mother's, clone them in my cloner machine for about a little under 2 weeks, and I veg them out 4 to 6 weeks, usually right around 5, and throw them into flower.
Oh, yeah.
But so with the scrogging, I use LSD.
Okay.
Low stress training. So pretty much just gently bending them down under the trellis netting, getting them to spread out throughout that whole first net, and then usually
let them come up through into the second one.
Yep, at that 4 or 5 week point, it's usually ready to flip, and then they just take off.
Oh, interesting. So you veg and then flower right in the same one space?
Yeah, pretty much. I actually hang, dry, and
right in there too.
Trim it all up right in there too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
He has that room dialed in like mint though, so it's perfect to do that for him.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I was gonna say, touching on that, I like to grow to VPD, so that's vapor pressure deficit. I don't know if anybody knows about that out there, but so air is, as we know, is composed of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and the rest is other gases. Well, so those other gases happen to be water vapor. So that's where you get your vapor pressure deficit calculation with that's your temperature and relative humidity in correlation with each other with a mathematical equation, but you can just go on Pulse Grow simply and put in your parameters, what your room is at, and it will tell you your VPD.
Yeah, or you can just find a cool chart, and once you figure out how to read that chart with its 3 or 4 different, I think it's maybe 4 different, I think it's 3 axes. Once you figure out how to read that, it's easy enough to follow as well.
Some of them, they vary so much though.
Yeah.
Like you Google VPD chart and it's like, so like we have the pulse, you know what I mean? And that chart is completely different than half the ones you see on Google. So it's like, which one do you follow? But since I have the pulse, I follow the pulse chart.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which honestly,
and if he's using the pulse, I would say go with that.
To me, I've noticed personally that Pulse and Trollmaster's VPD seems to really correlate, like really, really close with each other.
Okay. So that's good to know because I want to say our other buddy Toro there, he said that they're like way different. So I don't know unless his pulse is off because you have to calibrate those things.
He also may need a new 3-in-1 sensor for his Hydro X for his environment, his environmental sensor.
Yeah. See, I was reading more on the pulse and I'm like, oh shit, you got to calibrate this thing like every couple months. Or even if you notice the thing's way off and you've got like 4 other hygrometers there in the room, you can actually calibrate it to what those say. You know what I mean? If you think those are more accurate than what the heck's going on.
So I was actually informed by one of my mentors that usually it's good note to do, take down everybody. If you are running Trollmaster Hydro X's, he recommended to change out the 3-in-1 sensor after every run.
Really?
Yep.
It can't be that expensive.
It's like changing, it's like changing out your filters in your dehumidifier or cleaning your filters in your air conditioning unit or your filters in your water filtration system.
Yeah.
Anything, just regular maintenance.
Yep.
Keep everything nice and clean, and your
Calibrated
environment will
and
be
yeah.
healthy and
Yep.
relatively bug free as long as you don't let any crazy people come in there. And
What's your growing medium?
So
yeah, that's actually the question I was trying to ask originally.
He's about to make the switch.
it's going to be a tough switch. We'll see how it goes. So right now, I originally started in soil outside with Mother Nature, adding, some additives here or there, not too much though. And I got back into it about, 7 years ago now. Pretty much just sick of buying shitty weed for really expensive prices.
Yeah.
Heard
So
that.
Feel that.
I wanted to get some dank around and put my hands at work again, I guess. But where the hell were we going with that?
You've grown in
What
soil.
medium?
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
So I'm in soil right now. I've been in soil since using fabric pots. It just helps prune the roots so you don't get a huge root ball at the end, and it helps, in my opinion, helps your dry back more evenly than in a plastic container. But so once I finish my one coming up here soon, I am making a switch and going to cocoa full auto as far as my fertigation for
Yep.
full auto as well, into a drip system and back onto salts.
Floraflex system.
Athena.
Nope.
You're
I'm on Floraflex's drip system, but
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
I'm going to
using-
sponsor his whole next grow. So everybody hear this now. I'm going to give him a whole run of Floraflex because he uses another one.
I want you to, because I was hatching it up with Said last night, and I'm not going to talk bad about it, and I don't want to, and I won't at all. That's not me, but I'm interested. I'm going to do a side-by-side on it
Bet.
for sure.
Perfect.
So do you care if I say their name?
No, I don't care.
Okay, yeah. So I will be going back to Crop Salt.
Yep.
Shout out to you guys. They've treated me absolutely, I greater than great.
It's a funny inside story. That's why he asked
Yeah.
that. Because
Oh man,
we were in the shop one time just hanging out, like as we do. And somebody walked in and was like, "Oh, what do you got for powders?" And he just shouted out crop salt. And like then he looked around and I looked around and I'm like, "Fuck, man, I got Floraflex and Athena right there. I don't got crop salt." So next thing you know, that's all the customer wanted. He's like, "Well, what about the crop salt?" And he kept asking him.
we got to
asking
get that in. I'm telling you. Hey, speaking of, so he
powders.
he made a oops on my order that I just put in and sent me a bunch of 1 pound packets, pretty much like a sample kit.
Cool.
Instead of my 5 pound pack of cake.
Yeah.
At the end flush, put extra weight and whatnot on. But anyway, so
It's called cake.
yeah, so there are 2-part veg, 2-part bloom, and then cake at the end.
I like that. I just like that it's named cake.
So we're gonna do a side by side together,
right.
and we'll compare and contrast.
I like it. Deal.
sure.
Deal. We'll spot
Absolutely.
these.
Sweet. So when you say soil, do you mean like you were actually using like outside soil, or you were using like a Happy Frog or something like that?
So I started, to be specific, using Fox Farm Ocean Forest.
Okay.
Store bought soil, but I like to add in my nutrients kind of right away from the get, right as soon as I put them in the medium. So Fox Farm to me personally is, a hot mixed soil. There's a lot of nutrients already put into it.
Definitely.
So I went to Roots Organic, less of a nutritional value to that soil. So since I've been using Roots Organic, I phenomenal results.
Have you noticed any less perlite in the Roots Organic at all?
Yeah, a lot less.
Okay, so that's the same thing going on with Ocean Forest. A lot of the potting mixes lately, they're taking out like 40% of the perlite because there's been a perlite shortage. And
Yeah, at least putting like rice hulls or something to replace it.
I don't even know if they're putting anything in there to replace it. I hope they're not doing anything like vermiculite because it's just going to hold more water.
Right.
But like I broke open a bag of Roots, and Roots is fire soil. Not to talk bad about it at all, but do you often find rocks in it? Yeah.
You know what? And
they said there was a reason. The rep told me there was a reason for it. I can't think, but I'm assuming it's some kind of mineral reason.
I was just about to say mineral, probably like boron or some more potassium or something like that. Maybe on the,
rock phosphate. That should be all broken up though. They should have that ground up.
No, bro. I'm talking
huge rocks.
Huge rocks.
Like, I giggle every time I'm in touch with Mother Nature. Every time when I literally rocks and sticks too.
Yep. It's crazy because
that Ocean Forest has a lot of sticks in it too. I always felt like it was like, hey, fungus gnats, you want to come move in? Like, let's go.
There's a lot of pine. I noticed also. That's one of the biggest reasons I changed from Fox Farm, and not to talk bad about them, but I started noticing more pine wood in.
It's gonna make it acidic.
Yep.
Yeah.
It makes it acidic. There goes your pH in your medium, and your plant health goes out the window.
Yeah, because you're going to adjust your pH down already slightly acidic, right?
I started experiencing that.
They're one of the companies that like has been most impacted, I'd say, like in the industry, as far as products go. They've just, and it's not their fault because who the hell expected, the market to surge during COVID and everything else like that. Right. But they just like, they almost can't keep up. So like some of the soils and stuff like that has been a lot more inconsistent because they have to outsource now. You know what I mean? And, they got to do what they got to do to get them bags of soil out. And I'll tell you what, it hasn't stopped people from buying them. But I tell people, there's a lot less perlite and it's kind of a different mix now. You got to be transparent and honest with everybody. But
absolutely.
Yeah, Roots Organic's been pretty solid through and through. I mean, over the years, I don't think we've ever had problems with them.
Awesome. I want to take a little bit of a direction that we haven't really covered on the show yet and see your guys' opinions because you're also obviously very talented growers. So I'm sure at some point along your trip to get to where you are now, you were maybe not so talented and ran into some problems.
Oh, yeah.
And even talented growers run into this problem. Let me put this out there right now because it's not really one that you can just control. But what do you think the biggest, the couple most common pest problems are, and what do you do when you run into them?
Want me to go first?
Go ahead, yeah.
So, 3 most common that I see: mites, thrips, aphids.
Yep.
And not so much root aphids here, but you get the occasional root aphid problem. I guess if I had to say, like, give my recommendation for anything, the mites, you could use almost any one of these mite products. It's more in the intervals and how frequent you spray and how thorough you spray, and also removing a lot of the damaged leaves. So you really want to get ahead of their life cycle. So pretty much in every 2 to 3 days soak down with lights off. Always spray with lights off. I will never recommend anything other than that.
Cover your sensors.
Yep, cover anything that's important because when I say get in there thorough, I mean get in there thorough. They like to fester mites underneath the bottom side of the leaves, so you want to pick off the damaged ones that got a lot on there and get to work on them every 2 to 3 day spray. Thrips are like the tiniest of what looks kind of like a really fast worm with flies. They're like yellowish gold in color.
Oh, yeah. And they're typically on the leaf vein, so they'll blend right in.
Yup. And normally mites are generally on the bottom side where thrips are on the top, and they're fast.
Right. Well, and they can fly too.
Yep. Well, they glide, right? Because I guess they use like the wind from the room or from outside to get from plant to plant because their wings don't actually like move.
Adult thrips can fly.
Oh, they can?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit. So,
Yep.
I mean, from what I tell people, because they're so dependent though still, even on using like the wind, if you can get your plant almost to like an outside source and turn on the fan or like, blast them with some water. If you're not in flower, obviously it's easier, but you can knock a majority of the thrips off that way. And then I like to use Spinosad, which is a chemical combination of spinosyn A and spinosyn D. Monterey Garden insect spray, fully organic. You can spray that every 2 to 3 days as well.
Yep.
And most of these things like to attack lower parts of the plant first. Check your lowers, defoliate down below or lollipop when necessary. Just, general plant maintenance, kind of clean up any of the old or overgrown shit that's not kind of doing anything. And then aphids. Aphids suck. I'm just going to say that.
Really?
Just start over.
Start over?
Sometimes.
I mean,
Unless
multiply.
it's a really special
no, you're right.
strain or genetics.
You're right, because one day they're not there, and the next day
You got a covered leaf, and the next day you got 10 covered leaves.
you can't see your stalk. You know what I mean? Like, we went into my dad's room one time, and this was years back when he did his thing. But I'm just saying, like, you literally could, like, it looked like the stalk was just made up of little yellow jelly beans, like these little tiny things, and the stalk was just moving. From top to bottom, it was just like a highway for these little guys, and they're just crawling all over each other, and like they're relentless. Like he couldn't get rid of them for almost a year and a half.
Well, and so there is a bunch of species of aphids too. So they're not always going to necessarily just be yellow. Some of them are green. Some of them are almost brown, right? Some of them, if you have parasites around, you'll see like a little cocoon stuck to your leaf in the shape of an aphid. It's pretty cool. Anyway, one other thing, I wanted to throw this out there because I found a single and solitary mite on one infected leaf, right? A few weeks ago. I hit it with plant therapy product.
Yep.
Haven't seen anything else. Granted, I went through, ripped out probably 50% of all the branching and all the fan leaves and everything.
Tell me how pepperminty that stuff smells.
The
Lost Coast.
I love it.
I love it too, but
It's so good.
Same with the SI Control. Their preventative spray root dry, you could use it honestly, just like Lost Coast.
do they use corn oil in the control?
Soybean.
Okay.
Control? I don't know. The plant therapy is soybean oil.
Yeah.
And a couple other
I'm
horticultural
I'm
oils.
thinking pure crop is like corn oil, soybean oil, and something else. That's got a funky smell to it. That's got a funky smell.
Which maybe you want that soaking in there, that funky smell. I don't know. It depends on what crowd you're trying to please.
I'd say keep them. You're not in flower, are you with those?
No.
Okay. Keep them in veg until you know that my problem's eradicated. I actually have mites.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's
dealing with mites, but they're beneficial.
Yeah,
my organic matter content in my soil is through the roof, so I have to back off on my microbes and some other things.
Soil mites.
Here and there I do condition my soil with a humic acid too.
Yep.
If that was when I was in Fox Farm, I was having real crazy pH swings. I couldn't get anything right in my rhizosphere. So I started using humic acid, and it took care of it. It conditioned my soil.
That's why I tell people
Help balance it out.
recharge a lot of times.
I was just going to
Because
ask.
it's
Full of humics, aminos, fulvics. You know what I mean? It's good for
It's got
buffering
kelp
out
in there,
soil.
molasses.
So like,
everything.
if you got a hot spot in that soil and you really, really saturate with the recharge, it'll really help buffer stuff and turn it around. That's why they have like a 48-hour guarantee. Like you'll see a difference in 48 hours or your money back.
Scotty, if you want to sponsor the show, please reach out.
Yeah, recharge is pretty legit product for sure.
Phenomenal.
What do you think about running recharge? So I grow on blocks and blocks. What do you think about running recharge?
Top feed with no runoff. So you got to hand water top feed with no runoff.
Yeah.
I have to switch up how I implement.
Wouldn't it run off though once your drip starts going?
I mean, essentially, like you want it. Yes, some of it's going to run off, but you don't want to just like keep dumping it so it runs off into your
Well,
res.
technically, when you're doing water events, if you're doing a drip system, I think it. Correct me if I'm wrong. By your like last or
Fourth or fifth.
your very last, or you're getting close to your last watering event.
Yep.
Or events of the day is when you want to start seeing your runoff.
Correct. You're right. You're absolutely right. I think it's like the second to last feeding right before right before the 2 hour mark before your lights go off.
But at that though, it would also how you
probably would have already made such a saline environment that it's not going to be really hospitable for the microbes. I'm worried about your res building up with gunk. You know what I mean? Like from that runoff flowing through.
I'm glad you touched on that. So I run Power SI for my monosalicylic acid, and because I'm going to drip feed, larger res, multiple watering events during a day, trying to crop steer.
Yeah.
So the liquid Power SI mix, I've heard and have talked to other known smart growers that it's souring the reses up and gunking up, clogging their lines and their drip emitters or even their like spray emitters. So
really,
they've switched over to the granular.
Are you gonna foliar with the SI original?
Yes.
Yeah.
And probably bloom probably the first week or so of flower.
So we were looking at it today
per recommendation
and noticed that they pretty much just lower the nitrogen. They added some zinc, took out boron, and lowered the monosalicylic acid. Like they just kind of played with like the original formula.
Yeah. But it definitely adds in stacking, tighter nodal spacing, and more resin production.
See,
for sure.
I've always found like
What product?
Power SI.
Yeah.
I've always found like people, don't add nitrogen in flower. Don't add nitrogen in flower. I've almost seen. I like running the original better in flower than I did the bloom.
I run it up until day 21.
See, I do it all definitely through the stretch. But then the one time I didn't have the bloom and I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to run this because I got it right here. And I got the hookup on the bottle. And so that run, I mean, obviously VPD changes. Some things change, But I don't know. It just seemed like they stayed greener, healthier all the way through until I like nailed them with the flush.
So my first foliar feed I did with Power SI was when a couple ago I did Straw Diesel, Cindy 99, Brothers Grimm's stuff. And I was
some Cindy 99.
Oh,
nice.
Sweet. You're gonna love it. And so I was doing foliar applications. It was like every other or every third day, but I haven't seen a more even, consistent canopy since, and I haven't had a chance to get in there and do it when I'm supposed to. So I've only been applying it through feed.
I forget who it was I think it was on the GML chat. Like somebody on there said that if you or maybe it was one of the Jungle Boy guys. I don't remember who the hell it was. They said that if you double it, like 1 mil per gallon in a foliar spray, that it'll actually like alleviate some of the stretch for really, really stretchy plants and help, with that internodal spacing.
Yeah.
So
it does.
So I saw once that I had plants that were just gonna be too tall, right? And it was ready to go into flower. So I was like, you know what? I want to see what happens if I top them now and just flip today. 3 branches that came up almost perfect to where it was before I topped it, right?
Yep.
So like right at where it needed to be. 3 heads came up from there. Instead of what you usually see in veg, you have typically 2 come out. Maybe some of the lowers will get a little bit more excited as well. But like usually 2 main leaders. And it was 3 and they all produced a nice fat cola. And I'm like, I just want to put that out there is that's probably not going to work for every cultivar, but it's an option if you're having a problem with stretch. You know what I mean? Where you can like just
that's so funny.
Top them and let's see what happens.
I remember we had this discussion one time, me and you, because I was like, we were in the store just talking to somebody and I was like, I would never recommend that. You're like, well, I done it and it works great. And I'm like,
Topping?
No. Just right before it bloom. Only because I drill it in my own mind. Like, I have to just be so careful of what I recommend to people, because then they just come. Like, if I recommend something that's
It's
bad,
like you're speaking the Bible to them.
and then, then they can come back and then just like lay it on me. You know what I mean? So no, but you nailed it when you said like it won't work for every strain, but
it's an option.
Yeah, because one time Monster Super Crop when you pinch. Super, thank you. I always get the two confused for some reason. So when I super cropped,
Monsters taking a clone from a flowering plant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I noticed I was going to have too stretchy of a plant. You know, I didn't want to put a second net on, you know, and I was like, shit, you know what? I'll just pinch and bend this one. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just go through and do like this whole table. So the one table wasn't as stretchy. That was fine. I trellised it the way I normally did. And then this one was just like, I'm just going to pinch, bend, and then kind of weave. I'll tell you what, man. It was the strawberry guava. They don't like any kind of pruning or stress or any kind of techniquing done to them. Like, once they start having that onset of buds or, you know, of sites, and that's where I was.
Don't touch.
Like, no, do not do anything. But the other ones that I had done like a week prior, you know, it was a laziness thing. I trellised those a week, 2 weeks sooner. And then these, I was like, I'll get to these. And then I paid for it in the end.
I'll have to post some pictures on my story later. Thankfully, the plum crazies weren't mad at me because I had to super crop them. You know, I have a problem over vegging any plant, be it house plant, a cannabis plant, garden plant, just they're too big.
You like growing things, man.
I do, yeah. But so the knuckles on them was what terminology, I guess, common terminology used for them. Insane.
Well, that's why. So I started my mentor says you should super crop because mine were getting tall. I'm running in a kind of a low ceiling room.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I have LEDs, but they're, you know, I ran them an extra week to get the environment dialed in, and they're getting tall. And I'm supposed to flip on Monday, but I said, hey, what do I do? What would I recommend? He goes, go super crop them. So I started. I was so nervous because I didn't want to break them open, right? And I'm massaging, and I cracked it open. I was like, fuck, I'm not doing another one. And I was like, oh, I'll do a couple. I'm just going to try. And then I finally got it in. But a couple of the ones that I ripped open, remember I called you. Sorry. I bent them more. I'm like, fuck, they're cracked. Amazing. It's like some of them, it's really cool. It's really cool.
Sometimes even before the next day, within hours, they'll just be beep right back up. It's like, no, I want you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody use those LST clips? Has anybody tried
I
them?
haven't. I'm interested.
So I just ordered. You're talking those Cannabender clips?
Yep.
I just ordered 100 pack of them. I can't wait till they come in.
Some people say they snap. I mean, I would be like very gentle, and I would probably massage.
Well,
Yeah, just start
I would
at
say
the
they're
middle
not
and
using-
slowly work your way out on
Yeah,
those
because
holes.
you're like bending like a full 1 inch section, so just kind of like squeeze it a little bit and
I
then
would
put that thing in.
If they're getting snapped branches, I would say start using a monosaccharic acid.
Yep, use some silica or Power SI. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
100% valid. So I was going to try and towards the end of this segment get into like tips and tricks, and I was going to say like things that you wish you would have known as a beginner grower that you don't know now, right? And that's what I was kind of going to get into was adding it's not silica. We all call it silica, but silica isn't actually plant available.
Correct.
It's the element silicon, and you can have that either, well, no, it needs to be in silicic acid form. Monosilicic acid is really the best. Power SI is the only company I know of that is at least broadly advertised that's doing it in that form. Almost everybody else has the potassium silicate, which then has to be broken down in the soil, right?
I think AG, what is it? Bio AG. They've got like a really yellow one. I think they're the only other one.
Okay.
They might have it, but it's not the same level, and it's got yucca in it, so it's like yellow dye.
Yeah.
It's like yellow dye.
Well, it's also probably that yucca
Actually,
probably
your-
adds some
your
extra
mentor gave
benefits
it to me.
into.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That potent shit, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super potent shit. That stuff is gnarly.
What's it for?
it's monocyclic acid. It's like to build up the cell walls,
Yep.
and especially if you're going to do pruning and
it does
any
Well, it
kind of
so
helps,
much.
helps with nutrient and
Yeah.
water uptake, which building up those cell walls also helps with insect resistance, fungi resistance. Like
heat, stress.
it's really
any kind of-
silica is like the magic tool that nobody tells a beginner grower.
Yep.
Like
Your bioavailability for macro micronutrients, and silicon has been proven.
Yes,
to-
silicon.
If there is not a fair amount of it in your medium or in your plant,
Right.
your yields and quality suffer.
So I will say though, I won't recommend it to first time growers.
No.
Me being at the store, I won't, because a lot of times people will not remember unless you really, really, really care and you're like really on top of it and writing down notes and shit. I'll even write like add to res first. I'll even go through and,
and they
write on
still
people's.
put it after.
Yeah, and
Very
then they're
important.
And then they're like, "Yo, all my newts are like chunking up and they look all weird on top, and my res looks funny." And it's like, "Did you add the silica first?" No. And then it's like, "All right, well then did you add the micro first?" No. And it's like, "Fuck. All right."
Dump
Like,
it.
yeah, like, hang on, let me write this way bigger. So first time, second time growers, I probably won't. I honestly just push people towards, if they're gonna be a soil grower, I'll push them towards
Do it A and B.
a Pure Blend Pro grow from Botanicare, Pure Blend Pro Bloom Soil from Botanicare, just a grow base, bloom base. Keep it simple and work your way towards learning what you really want, what's going to really work best for you. But guaranteeing that success those first couple times really gives people the passion, the drive, the confidence to dig deeper, go further. They got to see it done first. So I just go simple the very first.
Well, and speaking to what Zippy said about if there's not enough in your soil already, your plant's gonna be detrimental. That's really every nutrient, right? It's called Liebig's law of the minimum. It's really, to make it really short and sweet. It's you're only as strong as your weakest link, right?
Right.
You're only gonna perform as well as your lowest available nutrient. So
Absolutely.
like anything that it could be copper, something that you don't even think you're gonna be using a lot, right? But if your medium doesn't have enough of it, that's going to impact your yields. And if it doesn't have any, it's going to be significant, right?
Right.
So,
Or too much.
right.
Adverse
Too much,
effects,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we ran overtime. Sorry, Fitz, again for doing that. So we're going to have to cut it short here. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I hope that we can bring you back on to do this some more, because Talk and Grow with the homies is really the best time. I don't even really feel like we're recording, right?
No.
So
Right.
Dope.
Yeah.
All we need is doobies. lit
Yeah.
up, You know what I
Take-
mean?
Well, we're gonna lobby Fitz for doobies.
Yep.
Doobies.
He's in. He's in.
or at least like dabs or something, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe a little
Yeah.
less stinky.
I'll bring a carbon filter. We can vent it right out one of these
Yeah.
windows.
And the massage therapist office right next door. Yeah.
Yo, that'll relax their muscles, bro. It'll relax
will.
them.
Gentlemen, take a minute to plug your social medias or any last minute comments you want to throw in before we sign off. But
Go ahead, Zip.
now's the time to do so.
I just want to shout out all you guys and everybody out there that follows me on Instagram. I appreciate the support.
He won't
man.
plug himself, but he's starting a consulting company, and this man right here is the one to use. Tell you what, start to finish, this man's got it. Zip,
Appreciate you.
we're gonna
Thank you.
we're gonna push
Oh, yeah.
everybody your way.
Yep.
So I think at ZippieHippie247.
His image, his pics and flowers speak for themselves.
Fuck
So that's
yeah.
the nice thing about being a good grower is you have a simple resume. Here's my product.
Smoke
What do you think?
this.
Yep.
Smoke this.
Smoke this.
Appreciate
You know?
that.
Yep.
So congrats. I'm looking forward. I've actually never personally have your product, but I've heard from
Frosted
many
fruit cake.
people that you're
Love
the
that
guy to go to.
frosted.
So
I love that frosted.
I appreciate it. I love it. I love it too.
Awesome. Well,
do you want to plug anything? Any events
yeah,
coming up or
sorry.
anything?
At #Hydro Inc.
obviously,
At
at Rock City Genetics.
At Rock City Genetics. At Rock City Carnival 2. Rock City Carnival 2. There's probably underscores in between every single one of those.
Follow account 1 through 37.
We might even do a Winter Carnival page, because we're locking in. Hopefully, we're locking in a dope indoor venue that is going to let us smoke. and
cool.
everything's gonna be done the right way. So in the next couple days, look out for that. We'll probably have another page and some tricks up our sleeve.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So if
I'm excited.
you're one of those people who came at me and said, how come I didn't know about this carnival? Well, you just heard it here first on the show. So I don't even know that I'm going to reach out to anybody else because as far as I'm concerned, you should be watching my show. Thanks, guys. Anyway, with that, Steve, you got anything else?
Thank you both for coming on. You're awesome. I hope we can do this again. Feels like we're at the shop.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah.
I have
course.
a cool new project I'd like to shout out. I have finally made my way into the THC industry. It's about 5 years in the making. I just launched Vandy's a couple weeks ago. You can find us on Instagram, Vandy's_rock. Premium cannabis products. We work with local growers, make all of our edibles in-house. Just looking to bring, small cultivators. I don't care if you go 3 plants. I don't care if you go 1,000. If you grow the best weed, we want to help you bring you to the market.
Hell yeah.
I'm
Nothing
looking at all you
but
motherfuckers
the
in here.
best.
But yeah, nothing but the best. Come check us out. Thanks for the support from the people that have supported me so far.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you all for the support.
Dude, Rochester's gonna be the next mecca for events. I tell you what.
Yeah, already. I mean,
Colorado
can't even
and
keep up with
Rochester,
them. It's
New
too many.
York.
Yeah.
Yes.
all right, people. Don't forget to elevate your state of mind and also don't forget to hit our Patreon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks to our friends here at Rockbox Recording and Production in Rochester, New York. They are a full professional podcast and video studio designed by a radio guy for podcasters. Audio, video, voiceovers, editing, whatever. Mouth off at Rockbox at rockbox.com.
You can follow Cannabis Cum Laude on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Cannabuzz. Type Cannabis Cum Laude into your search bar and you should be able to find us, but the links will also be posted in the episode notes as well. If you want to help support the show, head on over to Patreon, and that will ensure that we're able to keep the best quality sound and video coming to you on a regular basis. And if you liked what you heard today, please don't forget to rate and review the show.